We just had a really nice thunderstorm here for my birthday. Not the first time it's ever happened. Reminds me of a story of my grandfather. Here's another strongman story of Benjamin Friedman. So he was laying the high tension lines in the 1930s. They needed people who were strong to do a lot of strong labor. So they were laying the high tension lines in the 1930s. And he was climbing along with the team up the mountains, the Pocono Mountains. They're not as big as the mountains we have here out west. But he and a bunch of guys were out laying the high tension lines, and they had mules pulling those giant spools. If you've ever seen them, a lot of times roadside stands use them as tables. A lot of them are left over from the FDR and the CCC building stuff, building America's infrastructure from the 1930s. Anyway, he and a bunch of these guys were traveling up the Pocono Mountains, setting these big things up, and they had mules pulling the spools of wire. All of a sudden thunderstorm breaks out, and a bolt of lightning travels down from one of these high tension lines and hits a mule. Boom! And kicks the mule 20 feet in the air. Mule lands on its back and starts writhing in pain. Eventually the mule dies, and they're all staring at it. The foreman says, "All right, guys, pick up that spool. We need to get working." And all the men look at him and say nothing. My grandfather looks at him and says, "Go to hell. We ain't doing that. We ain't no mules." And all the men are flabbergasted that my grandfather would stand up to this guy, but he doesn't take shit from anybody. He never said the word shit in his life. Worst thing I ever heard him say was, "damn," or "go to hell." So he told the guy, "Go to hell." And the guy's like, oh, he's standing up to him. And they walked down the mountain. They weren't going to touch a spool of wire during a thunderstorm. My grandfather would stand up to anybody. He wasn't afraid. So that's the building the high tension wire story for Ben Friedman.